Hello, good morning, good afternoon. I will invite Marianne to be here with us. Just 1 second. She is there with Don. Here, uh, Marianne, go live. Ah, here it is.
Hi there. Hi there. Oh,
We
thanks.
did it.
Yeah, Don and I are here. There's Don.
Hey, Don, how are you?
Very well, Edu. How are you?
I'm doing great. Very nice to see you together.
We are so happy to be here, particularly on Giving Tuesday. And one of the things I love about Giving Tuesday, it's not just about trying to get donations for Karimu. I love the fact that it's the whole world joining in this spirit of generosity. And I was talking to our good friend Julian Page, who's the founder of Livingston Tanzania Trust, and Julian is who inspired us to start Karimu.
Uh-huh.
And one of the things he said the other day on WhatsApp to me is the world's resources are getting smaller and smaller, and people are getting more violent.
Now I'm not sure if Mariana is down. Um, yeah, so we had like probably a connectivity problem with Marianne. Let me see if I can bring her back again. Um, just 1 second. Let's see. She was. You were back.
I'm back. Yes.
Yeah, I
I
think it
was
was
just
a
saying,
connectivity problem.
yeah, I was just saying, as the world's resources get smaller and people get more frightened and more violent, especially the state of the world now, it is just wonderful to see that this is a day where we counteract that with what they call radical generosity, Giving Tuesday, whereas radical generosity is the idea that we care as much about other people's suffering as our own rather than going inward. So this is a day about abundance. And by the way, Karimu means generous, which is why we picked the name for this foundation.
Amazing, amazing. So let's just start. So I will start just making a quick introduction about myself. So I am Edu. I'm from originally from Brazil, but I lived in America for more than 11 years. I'm based now in Miami. And I met Karimu COO Nelson Matos, and I became a donor of Karimu initiatives a few years ago. And I had the privilege to meet Marianne and Don and Nelson in Tanzania last July 2023, in a volunteer mission. And I completely fell in love for everything that our entity is doing. It's amazing the capacity to engage with the community that I saw there, and it's amazing the impact. We are really changing lives there, and it's amazing to see the gratitude of people there. And when I came back, I decided to join Karimu as a part-time volunteer. So I'm spending a few hours a week to help Marianne, Don, and Nelson to scale this. So, and one of my jobs here at Karimu is to help on social media and, of course, to create a better awareness about what we are doing. And I had the idea to start these live interviews. And the best thing is to start with the founders. So you will see more often, if you keep following us on social media, you'll see more often this type of initiatives where we have a conversation to know better our people, our volunteers, and we will start with Marianne and Don. So Marianne and Don, uh, introduce yourself for people that do not know you, this video will be recorded and we will share this video on internet. So introduce yourselves first, what you do, what is your background, and then I will ask a little more questions.
Okay, I'm going to introduce myself first and then I will hand it to Don. My name is Marianne Kent Stoll, and I am the co-founder, along with my husband Don, of Karimu International Help Foundation. And sorry, both of our heads can't be in the screen, but so we're going to be passing the phone back and forth, and we're sitting in our living room, and hopefully you will feel like you're just having a conversation with us, not some kind of a stiff interview. Anyway, I'm Marianne, and my life has been in education. And I recently retired from being head of school at Idlewild Arts Academy so that I could join well, I've always been part of Karimu, but so that I could pour all of my energy into Karimu. I always told the people at Idlewild Arts that Idlewild Arts was my heart, but Karimu has been my soul for the last 15 years. So as educators, when we first came to Tanzania, we felt like we could do something. So I'm going to hand the phone to Don, and he can tell you a little bit about himself.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, just a little bit. I am Don, and I co-founded Karimu with Marianne in 2008. My background is also in education. I still work approximately half-time at Idlewild Arts Academy, so I'm not able to give as much time during the week to Karimu as Marianne is, but I hope that the relatively small amount that I do is valuable.
Fantastic. So tell us how you had the idea to create Karimu. How Karimu was founded?
Well, when you say, how did we have the idea? Don's laughing because we didn't have the idea. It was really the community of Ayalagaya and now Ari who had the idea that they wanted us to stay with them. So in 2007, Don and I came to Tanzania as cultural tourists. And what that means is we went into the bush, so to speak, and we didn't even know where and how far we were going into the bush. At that time, there were only dirt roads to the area where we are now. Now there is asphalt roads, but we got on a bus with goats and chickens and whatnot, and we didn't know where we were going. It was all our eye-opening experience. And we stayed with a family with 11 children, Marcelli and his wife, who we are still friends with today. And we became part of their lives instantly. And they took us to Ufani School, and Ufani was going to close because the school only had one hole in the ground as a toilet. It didn't have a proper toilet, and there were no roofs in the classrooms. Only 2 classrooms had roofs. And I looked at these half-built latrines that the villagers were trying to build, and I said, how much to finish that? And they said $500. And
Wow.
they couldn't come up with $500.
Yeah,
And I've
it's a lot of money
a
for them.
lot of money.
Crazy, a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. And I told this story probably 200 times, maybe more.
More.
But and more. Don says more. He's going to count many more. And it still moves me because I thought, okay, we're going to help do this. And when we said we would help do it, there was great celebration. And I also have to tell you a funny part. We only had travelers checks on us. We had $100 in cash. And I don't even know if this audience knows what travelers checks are.
I
But
remember.
yes, yes. And so we said, we'll have to wire you money. But they started just on the trust and belief that we would wire the money. And they had no, assurance, but they believed that we would do it. And we were feeling very good about ourselves that we were fixing the toilet. And then I'm going to let Don tell this part of the story where it became their idea, not ours. Here, Don, you can tell them.
Yeah, sure. Once we had agreed that we would, once back in California, wire them the money they needed to finish the latrine, we, as Marianne said, felt good about ourselves. We thought we'd done a lot. We thought we'd done enough. and we were prepared to leave the village and head to the airport to fly home. But it was at that time, the head teacher of Ufani Primary School, the school that needed the latrine, that said goodbye to us, but that also said to us, well, we hope you can come back. And I was quite blunt. I said, believing what I said, because we were in education, and a trip to Africa was expensive for us. We had thought that it was a once in a lifetime trip. So I quite bluntly told the head teacher, whose name was Paul Yoronimo, no, we're not coming back. And it's possible I'll get emotional while telling the story, but Paul had these beautiful, big, liquid brown eyes, and the kind of eyes that look like they're always ready to weep, even when he's in a good mood. And he looked me in the eye and said, "We need you. You're part of our family now. You have to come back." So at that point, Marianne and I realized, okay, well, we are coming back. So yeah, we did. We came back in 2008. That was 2007 when we visited as tourists.
So you kept coming back every year. So you start raising more money to help more schools. Basically, everything started because you saved the Ufani school. The government would close the school, right?
Yeah.
A lot of kids had no school anymore because you built the toilets, the latrine. You saved the school, and then it started coming back. And try to raise more money to help them in other stuff. This was the beginning.
Yeah, that was the beginning. And I always tell people that we made friends, and you don't turn your back on friends, because we had a lot of people that asked us, well, why aren't you helping poor people here in the United States? And the simple answer is, we went there and we made friends, and we made a commitment, and we kept coming back, and we kept bringing volunteers, and we kept growing and with our volunteer base. And then the word got out. And then in 2016, we had the great fortune of Nelson Matos, a former Google VP, and his wife joining us on a volunteer trip. And they were moved like you were, Edu, with the community and the commitment of the community. And I think it is the community that invites us in and draws us in, just like you were drawn in, Nelson was drawn in. And that is how we started to grow.
Very nice, very nice. It's a very beautiful story. And my next question is, since 2007-8, when you started with $500, until now, Karimu invested more or less $5 million from the generosity of the donors and applied the capital to have a huge impact in 15,000 people. There is the population of Ayalagaya, and now we are expanding to an additional population in Ari. What is different now from where you started, and what is still the same?
I'm going to let Don talk about what's different, but then I will talk about what's the same. How about that? Does that
Yeah,
sound okay?
up to you.
All right. By the way, we're really enjoying the way you're interviewing. You're making me feel very relaxed. Thank you,
Yeah,
Adu.
it's a chat. It's a
Very
chat
nice. I
between
feel like I'm in
friends.
the living room with you. Thank you. All right, here's Don. He's going to tell you what he thinks is different.
What's different? Well, that first year that we came back with approximately 24 volunteers, our goal, it seems comical now, our goal was to raise, I believe, $17,000. And, Marianne and I had no experience in this kind of thing, no experience with a nonprofit, no experience fundraising. So we had no idea whether we could raise $17,000. I think ultimately we raised $31,000. So we were easily able to complete the entire renovation of Ufani Primary School, which needed roofs, which needed walls, which needed doors and windows. what is different is that if you compare our fundraising goal in 2008 of $17,000 to our current fundraising goal, which would be, in the neighborhood of $1 million a year, that has changed, and in consequence, we're able to do so much more. We're able to help the people of Isle Guy and Ari Ward so much more. The big change began when, as Marianne has just explained, Nelson, this retired former Google vice president, decided that he was impressed by what we did. He liked very much what we did, and he wanted to work with us. The just about the first decade of Karimu's existence, we typically raised between $50,000 and $100,000 a year. And I mean, that's a lot of money there. You can do a lot with $50,000 to $100,000 a year. But now, as I said a moment ago, we're raising more like $1 million a year and able to achieve so much more. The other thing that has changed is that because we now, for reasons that, for reasons that I'll sketch briefly, we have a full-time Tanzanian staff of 8 employees. We have a Tanzanian board. We have volunteers like yourself, but many in addition to yourself, who are in regular online contact with the people in Tanzania. And for this reason, because we have all of these people working for us, and because the volunteers outside of Tanzania are in constant contact with the Tanzanians, we're able to have a much clearer idea about the needs. Now we are able to systematize our attempts to satisfy their needs. Whereas, quite honestly, in the first few years, although everything we did, or virtually everything we did, was positive, we made a small number of mistakes, I think. But in the first few years, it was largely about the squeakiest wheels, you might say. In Tanzania, the people who were loudest in expressing their needs and in coming to us and saying, we need this, we need that. Those were all entirely legitimate needs, but there were so many more needs that for the first several years we were not able to satisfy, because we did not have this constant contact with the Tanzanians. Since Marianne and I were only able to spend a couple of weeks out of the year there, right? And we didn't have the kind of online contact that we have now. So I would say that I think that for our purposes, that's an adequate summary of what's changed. But Marianne, I know, wants to talk about what's the same.
What is the same? Yeah, and I have some comments about what you said, but I'll let Marianne go ahead with the other part of the answer.
Do you want to comment now?
No, I think there are many important and smart actions and way of working that Karimu is doing that I start admiring a lot. First, all this money that we raise, for example, Don mentioned more or less $1 million a year, more than 97% goes directly to the projects. Why? Because most of our expenses, it does not exist because we have the volunteers. And the volunteers, they receive no money for that. They help Karimu because they love what we are doing. And only less than 3% of this money goes to our to pay our costs and our staff on the ground. So it's very difficult to find a nonprofit that applies capital directly to impact the community as we do. And another thing that was very impressive for me was that when we visited Tanzania, it was very clear that we are not charity. We don't give anything for free. So everything we do is to work with the community and to have a partnership with the community. So there is a contract between Karimu, the community, and the government, where each part they need to do the work for us to keep helping them. So we are not doing anything that we just assist them and give for free. No, it's a partnership in giving the community some help for them to help themselves. So this is important to a comment complementing what Don just said. But Marianne, what is still the same? You are, I say that you are the soul, and you're the center of the culture of Karimu. So what is the same?
Well, I'm just really glad that you said that so well, Edu, because that has remained the same from the beginning. From the beginning, Don said we didn't know much about development, but I think we learned by listening to the people. We didn't listen as strategically as Don mentioned, but we never assumed that we knew better than them what they needed. And I think a lot of nonprofits unfortunately will go in and they'll do a project that they think is really like groovy and flashy, and then they walk away and the project crumbles, and it may be something that the people didn't even want to begin with. So what has remained the same is that we always listen to the community. Also, what has remained the same, when you said about not giving anything for free, um, the idea is not so much like, we're going to teach you a lesson and you need to understand that you need to work with these projects. It's more the idea of respect and dignity, even for the most vulnerable and the most poor. We never saw these people, although some of them were very poor, as problems that need to be solved, but rather they were co-partners. And out of dignity and respect for them, we had them, they contribute 10% of their labor, they dig the foundations. Teacher scholarships, they pay 25%, we pay 75%, which is, it only costs, by the way, about $350 for a teacher to get a distance learning degree. And then the other thing is, what was I going to say about the remain the same? The reason why Nelson joined us, we were shocked because we were so tiny, but he was looking for a model where we weren't just trying to fix one problem, but that we were understanding that the challenges of poverty are complex. You can't just build a toilet, or you can't just say, we're going to build a classroom. What about the children in the classroom? What about if they can't attend school because the water is too dirty and they're getting stomach diseases, or they're spending too long trying to go fetch water that they can't attend school? And what about the sustainability of the community? What about savings groups and financial support? And what about possibility for income beyond subsistence farming? We saw all of these intricate parts, and we did our little bit to help. Like, we took a health dispensary that had only 2 rooms. We couldn't build the health center that we did today, but we saw you can't have a health dispensary and have no water and no electricity. So we at least put some electricity and some showers and some sinks in. And then we brought water to Bacho Primary School so that they wouldn't have to be spending all day fetching water. So we did all of this multi-pronged approach to addressing the challenges of poverty. And Nelson really liked this 360 approach. And particularly, he knew that trust takes a long time to build. And you cannot just march into some place and set up these projects. You have to build that trust. And he realized that if he went somewhere else and started his own nonprofit, that he'd have to do the years of work that we did in establishing that trust. I can go on, and I'm sorry. I think I'm going on too much.
Oh, that's amazing.
Sorry,
That's
Moo.
amazing. And the trust is growing, right? So it's something that is very difficult. It's a long-term challenge, and we built this trust, especially because you started this in 2008, 7, 8, and the trust is still being developed and growing, right? Let me give just a context for some people that will watching now, or some people that will watch this later. When we arrived in Tanzania in July, uh, uh, Nelson, Marianne, and Don, they were explaining to us volunteers that most of us we were for the first time in the region. What is the situation in Ari and Alagaia when Karimu start working? And the reality is that most of the kids from 3, 4 years old to 8 years old, their number one task, their number one job is to fetch water. So most of them, they have to walk 1, 2, 5, 10 kilometers, right, in miles, sometimes 5, 6, 7 miles to find water. And in most of the times, it's dirty water from a little creek that they find this water. A child that does this job, they don't have time. Simply, they don't have time to study. They don't have time to go to school. They spend like 4, 6 hours because there is not only one trip. They have to go multiple times to find the water. And one of the very first things that Karimu does or did was to bring water from the mountains, because there is water in the region. There is no distribution of water. So we invested in an infrastructure project to bring water from the mountains in partnership with the community, where they dig the places that the pipes will flow the water. There are many ways that they can work with us to fix the problem. And we put more than 200 water points in the village. Imagine a village full of little farms, right? They plant to survive. So it's not like a village with have 15,000 people together. It's a village with very many little farms. So fixing the water problem, uh, the great thing that happened was the kids now they have to walk only 500 meters to fetch water. And now they had time. They start having time to go to school and to study. And then you have to look at the school. So fixing the toilet was where everything began. But Karimu started investing in improving the toilets, improving the kitchen of the school. And then with this, the foundation was built, and the trust with the community start being developed. And the school became the most amazing place in the whole village. And then the kids start performing better, and then we start developing this, going to health centers, to little hospitals, and going beyond, taking care of giving to them methodologies to teach them how to save money and to make some profit from loaning money to these groups that we call savings groups. Also, we start teaching entrepreneurship concepts for them to improve their income. So all this is part of a long journey of development and listening, a lot of listening. But Marianne and Don, there's a lot of needs. How do you prioritize things? Is Karimu that decides what are the priorities, or how does it happen?
No, it is the community that decides the priorities. I wanted to mention about the water. We finished the water project in Ayalagaya, which had about 90 something water points. And when you were talking about the 200 water points, that was in Ari. So this model of this 360 approach to addressing the needs, we're taking next door to Ari. And the way that we decide the needs is we have a strategic plan. Ayalagaya had a 5-year strategic plan. Now with Ari, we have a 5-year strategic plan. All the stakeholders of the community join, educational leaders, medical leaders, local government, even like some, like local government, elders of the community, etc. And then together we decide the priorities, and we put them in little bucket lists, and we decide the priorities. The priority with Ari was water as we moved into that area. And this is where, like Don was saying, we're more strategic. We realized that you can't do anything without water. right? So we started with the water, and then it'll be the sanitation, and then in parallel to that, we are training savings groups and generating income projects as well. So again, back to that idea, you never stop listening. And the thing about the trust is sometimes maybe we didn't hear something correctly, maybe we made a mistake. I mean, we're human, right? And I think the community has been forgiving when we make mistakes because they realize that we're never going to leave until the job is finished. And like you said, for $5 million, we have uplifted Ayalagaya out of poverty. Now we can go to Ari and do the same, right? So we have a model that is replicable, which is very, very exciting.
And where, in your opinion, where Karimu needs most help
I'm going to give
nowadays?
this to Don. I've been monopolizing.
Uh, that, that that's okay. Well, there are people in Tanzania, in particular, people in the government that have had their eyes on Karimu, admiring the work that we've done, and would like to see us do similar work elsewhere. We've been working in one tiny corner of Tanzania, and it's a large country. In order to expand, in order to work in other parts of Tanzania, we need to expand our donor base. In order to do that, we probably need to revisit the composition of our board and try to add board members who can help actively with fundraising. The model, I think, is something that will work elsewhere in Tanzania, which is a very exciting thing to think about. But we have to take these steps before we can do that. And in fact, we've already begun the process of thinking about how to grow the board, thinking about how to add helpful individuals to the board. So it could be that within a couple of years we will be working in parallel other places in Tanzania, in addition to Ayalagai and Ari wards. That's certainly our hope.
Yeah, I promised to bring Nelson to one of our next Karimu talks here. But when I asked Nelson, what do you need? What is your main priority? He said, I already know how to scale Karimu. We need resources. So I completely agree with everything you said, but we need more donors. We need more people that believes in the good that we are doing, and the more money we have, the faster will be the expansion of what we are doing, and more people will be impacted.
Exciting.
So, sorry.
I said it's exciting to think about.
Yeah. And what are your expectations and dreams for Karimu? What do you have in mind?
Oh gosh, let me hand this over to Marianne.
Well,
I like this. I like this ping pong.
yeah.
It's very good. You guys,
Thank
you complement each other very well.
thank you. Yeah, I think similar. I think once we're able to expand this model where other communities can join in the benefits that Ari and Ilagai have seen, I think the ultimate goal is that the communities become entirely self-sustaining. And I tease the people in the community. I say, you guys are going to just be able to do everything. You're going to be on your own. I will be an old lady. I will just come and sit under a banana tree and enjoy, and you bring me tea. And that will be my dream of just come to visit, not and to just admire how far they have come. And already we're very much on the road to that. The staff has become more and more independent in driving and organizing projects. And we have a wonderful regional manager, Shao, who's on the ground, who is really doing a great job of running the projects. And that would be my dream, because then we would just be in the background applauding. That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, that's a beautiful leadership quote. So you don't want them to depend on you forever. You just want to uh, go and find another community to help, or just go there and see how they are helping themselves, right? Very, very successfully. That's
Oh,
beautiful.
a great leadership quote that I don't know the exact words, that a great leader is somebody who lifts up a community of people, and they are so far lifted up that they don't even know who it is that has lifted them.
Amazing. Beautiful. And we are almost finished here, but I still have two questions.
Sure.
One is, what was the most important lessons that you had in this almost 15 years of Karimu?
Okay, I'm going to give that to Don, and then he can give it back to me. That way, it give me time to think about it.
I would say that just as we are human beings at Karimu who can make mistakes, the people that we're trying to serve in Tanzania are human beings, which means that they're forever surprising us. I mean, that accounts for some of the relatively small mistakes that we've made over the years, that we didn't fully understand the people, didn't fully understand their needs, their relationships among one another, what's going on. We're getting better and better, but given that they are human beings, they will always be able to surprise us, and we have to be prepared for that. We have to be prepared to be flexible. Let me hand it back to Marianne. I think she has something to add.
I like what you said, Don. I think we're always learning. Um, I think the biggest lesson for me personally has been never say no and always say yes. And if you can't do it, say what we say over and over, tutajaribu, which means we will try. And in fact, Sabine John, the word executive officer, always says, I know what you're going to say, Mama. You're going to say tutajaribu, because they put a project before us. I always say tutajaribu, not no, not yes, but we will try. And we will continue to try. And I just think that Karimu has grown far beyond Don and me, and we thank you, Adu, for you know you're you're just you're just doing everything so beautifully, as if you've been part of our family for years, and it is because your openness and because you said yes and you didn't say no. So we need more people like you who just say yes and don't say what if, right?
Yeah. No, for me is amazing. I'm learning a lot. I tell everybody that I'm a trainee on the nonprofit world, and I'm also very thankful for everything you guys are giving to me. I think I'm receiving much more than what I'm giving, because I'm learning so much, especially about hope, gratitude, and how to be humble, to listen more the community and understand the others much more than impose your ideas and opinions. So yeah, I'm a trainee. I hope one day, maybe in 15 years, I will have the wisdom that I'm seeing on both of you. Let me go for my last question, and I need to control myself because probably I'll get emotional on this question, because
I'll go ahead and get emotional.
I always get emotional on Karimu's meeting and presentations here, and which is great, is a good thing. Um, one of the most remarkable moments in my mission in Ayala and Ari was first when we arrived in Ayala, where I saw 1,500 people or more waving their hands and leaves, hosting us and receiving us. It was crazy. Like imagine like when you are in a soccer field. I'm from Brazil, so I love soccer. So everybody crazy when that goals happened. Looks like the same when we were arriving there. So people were so happy that the volunteers were arriving. That was amazing. And then they start like a 3 hour celebration where they make dancing, they sing to us to as a way that they show their gratitude about what Karimu is doing. And the same when we are leaving, there is a farewell ceremony where they present everything again and they change the songs and they change the dance. And it was very beautiful for me to see the how they treat you, Don and Nelson. My question is, how you feel in these moments where they directly thank you with this 2 hour and a half celebration for everything that Karimu is doing? What is the feeling? What is in your heart?
Um, it's overwhelming, and it's overwhelming that this level of gratitude is so tremendous, and and it hasn't diminished over 15 years. I was talking to Xiao one time, and I said, if we had visitors coming to our community, we would probably put on a party the first time they came. But if they kept coming back, we wouldn't just like keep putting on parties. We'd be like, oh, we did that. And in our culture, we're always, thinking about, oh, let's move on. Let's move on. We did that. What's the next thing? What's the new thing? But they don't think that way. It's like you can never show enough gratitude. And I said, Shao, don't you guys get tired? I mean, these are huge welcoming that they plan and huge farewell. This is hours of rehearsal and 1,000 people joining and singing. He said, we will never tire of expressing our gratitude. No matter what we are doing, if I'm on my computer, if somebody's on their farm, if somebody's in the classroom, we will drop everything and run to you. And I am humbled by that. And I really think that that's what heaven must be, where thousands of people are joining in gratitude. Because if you are grateful, you are all powerful. And this is more powerful than me. I'm overwhelmed by it. I don't even understand it, honestly. It's too much, right? And Don will tell you a little bit. Don, I'm getting emotional because Don he's been my quiet partner in all of this, and he is very much an introvert. And so he has been really taken out of his comfort zone to come here and be celebrated the way he's been celebrated. But I'm glad that he's celebrated because he deserves celebration. He's probably the most humble person that I know. And I'm going to start crying. So I'm going to hand it to Don because he can tell you a little bit more about how he feels.
Happy, obviously. But during those celebrations, a little embarrassed too. I mean, to have people writing songs about you and mentioning you by name. Obviously, obviously it feels great. Obviously, it makes us happy, but it's embarrassing because how do I want to put it? It's as if the gratitude is sincere, but in a way it's a little bit out of proportion because in a way, Marianne and I and everybody else who volunteers for Karimu, like yourself, Edu, we're only doing what should be done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you think about the two biggest projects that we've completed, the projects to bring water first to Ayalagaya Ward and then to Ari Ward.
People should have this. They
Yeah,
should have this, right? So
yeah. Why should people have to become ecstatic because
yeah.
suddenly their children no longer have to walk miles every day to bring water? It's like this is as it should be. And sorry, I think I might be getting a little loud. This is as it should be. So the kind of work that we at Karimu do should be done. It should be taken for granted. Well, I think I've point. That's why it's a little embarrassing, even though obviously it makes us tremendously happy.
Yeah, I understand your point, but I also think that we live in a world that we have a lot to evolve,
Mm.
and when we and learn from each other, and I think we should be grateful. In general, the society should be grateful as well as the community in Ari and Ayalagaya are. So I think it's a big lesson. We should be much more grateful for things that we have, for the help or support that we receive. And in general, I think the society is a little poor on this. So
Well
yeah,
said.
this is at least my understanding from your answer. And I'm grateful for that I had the opportunity to watch this, to see this amazing celebrations and understand that the the real meaning of the word gratitude or gratefulness. So I I feel blessed to be part of this. So any last minute comments? So I think we are finishing our first Karimu Talks. Um, to me, it was fun. Was very cool, very emotional as well, and it was an honor to interview you two here. Um, any final words?
No, well, yes. I want to thank you, Adu, and I want to thank all the Karimu volunteers. I see some of them on the talk here. I see that Kathy Novak is on here, and Kathy has come with us about 9 times with great enthusiasm and working in the classrooms. And Victoria's here, our staff. I want to thank all the people that have made Karimu happen, and it is my privilege to have been able to help plant the seed and to spread the good work of Karimu. And for all you people out there, Giving Tuesday again is about the power of generosity and unleashing generosity. So I'm glad that we're doing this today. And thank you for the people that are supporting Karimu. And let the good work continue. Let it continue.
I have nothing to add. Adu, you and Marianne have said everything I would have liked to say, but probably better. So thanks to both of you.
Oh, awesome. So that's it. This was our first Karimu talk. We will keep bringing more volunteers here. So Nelson is coming soon. We have Ego coming. We have Emma Sini from China that will be interviewed here. So more people will come. Don't forget to follow us on social media and check our website for news and our fundraising campaigns as well. And we'll be back soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have an
Thank
amazing
you.
day. Amazing.
Bye.
Bye bye.